tarantula in my shop. Right here. It's actually a 3D printer. We're going to take it out, put it together. Coming up. Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome to the shop. And yes, I have a tarantula in the shop here. This one's plastic, so it's not going to bother me. It's also skeleton. One of my wife's Halloween decorations. But right here is the TEVOUP, I hope that's the way to pronounce it, Tarantula. And they have offered me to demonstrate this and put it together and see how it works. And after looking at it, I thought that thing looks pretty cool. I want that. So let's get this out of the box. We'll see what all we got involved here. Oh, so now I've got a nice piece of black protective foam. And, well, we got some cool colors going on here. Well, let's see what we got here. We got some sample filaments, some PLA, power cord, good thing to have, and a bag of hardware and cables and an SD card and a scraper and all kinds of good stuff there. Of course, we have the manual. I need to figure out how to get the rest of this out of here. Oh, it's in layers. Okay. It doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of assembly involved here. This would be the X-axis and the Z already assembled. That's nice. Here we have the hot end, and this is really unique looking too compared to the Crealities that I have. Bowden tube's already attached. Have a DIN plug that's going to plug in. Dual fans. Neat looking. Well, I got some hardware laying in here loose. Well, I suppose those two pieces go together. I'll have to figure out what it came off of. Unless it was just some an error when they packaged it. A little piece of hardware fell in there, but we'll keep track of that. The base and everything else is in one piece. So, let me get rid of this. Okay, and unpacking this plastic bag of stuff, you get a USB cable, which is... oh. Hoping that'd be USB-C or USB-A to B. So A to mini or micro or whatever you call that particular one, and it's rather short. So you're going to have your computer close to it if you're going to connect to a computer. And I know this is a spool holder. It's similar to what Creality uses. And we have another piece of Bowden tube here. I doubt if it's Capricorn, but looks like it's pretty decent quality. Power cord out of there, there's a scraper. We have a 512 meg SD card and an SD card reader. We'll have to look at that later. We have hardware, A01. And what I like to do, if you watch any of my previous videos, and there's that piece I found in the box, I like to put all my hardware in one of these magnetic trays. Makes it easier for me to keep track of everything and nothing's rolling around. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of assembly to this. It's going to be pretty straightforward. They do give you some tools here. You get some zip ties. You get a little 8x10 M&M wrench. You get a small assortment of alien wrenches there. The L shape. A couple more. You get a spare hot end and this one, or a nozzle I should say, and this is a little different from what you usually see because usually they don't have threads that long. Okay, for assembly it's going to be pretty straightforward, and although they do give you these wrenches here, and it looks like that one there comes pre-bent, but I don't use these. I use a ball driver or straight driver. To give you an example, I like these. This particular brand has to be made by Eklund. And I also use Weha and Wera. There's quite a few different ones I have. And that'll be used for first of putting the gantry frame together. That's 4 M&Ms if you're keeping score. Okay, the first step is to mount the gantry. And I've got the base here with the motherboard and controls facing me. The Z-axis stepper motor will be on your left. So it will set on there like this. And you'll have 4 of these screws here with some locking washers that will come up and go through from the bottom. So I'll get all these set first, put together, get all my pieces. I think the easiest way to do this is going to be to lay it on its side. And it's just a matter of lining up the holes that are in the bottom of the vertical extrusion and starting your screws. Here again, that's where these things really come in handy. I'm not going to tighten these all the way up yet until I get the ones done on the other side. Just going to run them most of the way in. As you move things around, hang on to like the hotbed to make sure that it doesn't go just slamming somewhere, because it'll move pretty easy. Now this should by default come up perfectly square because of the way this is made. I can double check that after we get it back vertical. Once you get all your screws started, you can tighten them up all the way. There are some electronics to connect, but this is pretty simple and straightforward. This harness here is held together with a zip tie we can cut off, so we can unfold that, which we'll get into when we get up to the top there. Kinks out of it. Yeah, you'll need to mount the hot end to the x-axis here. The bracket here, there's 2 screws at the top. It'll mount just like this. If you don't have enough space here, you can take your fingers back here and turn the Z-rod and raise the gantry up so that you can work on it. So this is, if you're using these ball drivers like this, is 2 M&Ms. There's 2 screws to mount this. Just like so. I just happened to notice that the screws on this corner are not tight, so you're probably going to want to go around and check, make sure all your hardware's tight. These have hammerhead nuts on them. This is a 3 M&M. That could have vibrated loose in shipping, I suppose. So I'll go around and check, make sure all my hardware is tight. And notice you got some little knobs that look like this. These are your belt tensioners. And there's one for the x-axis and one for the y. I'm going to do the x one first. It's right here on the end, a little hole in the end there. Screw that in. This is how you set your belt tension. Now this is kind of a subjective thing. You don't want this so tight that it drags, but you don't want it so loose that it jumps around either. So I've got that about right. I'm sure there'll be one on the back here. And that already has one in it. That is set pretty good. And while we're on the back, your bed, you'll have this DIN plug right here. That plugs in right underneath the belt where the belt tensioner is. Now this is keyed, it'll only go in one way, so you don't need to force anything. Once it plugs in, there's a little ring around there that's threaded. Screw that in. While we're on the subject of wiring, see on this side over here, you'll have another DIN plug. That is where this end goes. And again, that's keyed, it only goes in one way. That screw down, and while we're here again, you have 2 cables here. You got the Z limit, which is right up here, and you have the Z stepper motor, which is right here. These are also keyed. They only go in one way. You shouldn't have to force anything. You notice that there's 2 protrusions on there. On your stepper motor, that will go up. Don't force anything. If you bend these pins, you're going to have a really hard time getting them straightened out. Now on your limit switch, you'll have the same thing. You have those two protrusions. Those two protrusions will face forward away from the circuit board, and it just plugs in easy, just like that. Don't force anything. On this corner, you'll also have some more connections to make, and you have a cable here with 4 connectors on it. They are labeled. This one here is labeled X. That's for the X travel stepper motor. That's this motor here. This is your X travel. And this again, it's keyed. It only plugs in one way. And that key will be facing the front. Right here is your X limit switch. This one's marked X. Again, it's keyed, only fits one way. Like so. This is your filament runout sensor. That's what this is right up here. Again, keyed, only goes in one way. The little keys will go up in this case. Plugs right in like that. And the last one here is your extruder stepper motor. It'll have an E on it. That plugs in. It's going to be hard to show this because it's kind of hidden. Hopefully you can see this down here. The keys will go up. Plugs in just like that. Next will be the Bowden tube installation. There's a little fitting on here. You slide that in until it bottoms out. And if you ever need to remove that, just push on this ring and you'll be able to slide it right out. Push on that ring, you'll be able to just slide it right out. Once that ring is out, this one has a pretty good spring on it to hold it there. You definitely want that to be tight, and you want to check on your other end down here to make sure that is also pushed all the way down against the hot end, because if you end up with a gap in there, you'll end up with some clogs. You don't want that, believe me. Okay, next will be the filament spool holder, and they're not exact about where to put this. The Creality always puts them up here on top. You could also put it over here on the side if you have the space for that. For now, I'm going to put mine up here on top. So what you get, mount this, what they call hammerhead nuts. Look like this here. They have a bevel on one side. That bevel will go against the extrusion. The little collar will go up towards your bracket. Simply put the screw in the bracket there. Start your nut on it. You only need to do it a few turns. Don't screw it all the way down yet. Now, a little nut and bolt that I found laying in the box, I don't see that that goes anywhere on here, so that may have just fallen in when they were packaging this. So once these are started like so, just kind of set them horizontal, drop them down in the slot there. Take your 2 M&M driver, go over a little bit here. Just tighten those up. Those little nuts will swivel and lock into the extrusion. Then you'll have this piece here, has a plastic nut on it. I'm going to set mine so the spool sets at the back, because that will give the most direct travel down. We'll see how that goes. I may need to make an adjustment later. Just like that. You probably can't see the top of that. There it is complete. Like I said, I've got that on the back side. You want the smooth side towards your spool. So if I do decide to turn this around, which I doubt I will, I'll have to turn my bracket around. They do give you a little bundle of zip ties here to dress up your wiring a little bit, and I'm not going to fool with those until I get this the travel going on this and see how everything lines up, and then I'll tie it up accordingly. So we're going to need some filament on there, and I'll take this little test package they give. And we're going to need to load the filament, which should be pretty straightforward. Something else you need to do. There's protective film, plastic film on this bed. You're going to need to remove that. Before I can fully load the filament, I'm going to have to turn this on and get the hot end warmed up. We'll just get it started here, and you're going to find that that roll of sample filament they give you is just all kinds of springy, coiled up. Yeah, it's going to be fun. But right here is your filament runout sensor. You pass the filament through that. You'll see there's a little hole down here on the extruder. Pass that through there. There's a little lever on the back here you push. That allows you to push this the rest of the way through. And you have to hit the hole. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. You need to be able to get that between there, and it needs to go into the Bowden tube, and the end of this is all kinky. So I'm going to make a little cut on that. It actually helps if you cut it a little bit at an angle. Have it straightened out as much as possible. If you're on a new spool, this will be a lot easier. This sample pack is so kinked up. Then you can just push it through the Bowden tube until it stops. Don't force anything because, like I said, your hot end isn't on yet. Okay, so we're that far. Now we need to get this thing powered up. Okay, a little something I want to point out, and this can happen to anybody on anything. This is the power cord that came with it. It isn't any good. I plugged this in, I plugged this in, and got nothing out of it. And as I was looking at the female end of it, I noticed it was kind of wonky looking. So I put a continuity meter on here. From the ground to the ground I have continuity, but from either one of the hot and neutral lines to this end, there's no continuity, there's no connection at all. So this is trash. I do have other cords, but just something to be aware of. I would point everything out in a video if I find something that is not up to spec or not exactly what I call kosher. So this is one of them. Say it could happen to anybody on any machine, anywhere, but something to look for. If you plug it in, turn it on, it doesn't do anything. Okay, I'm hoping this shows up on the camera because this is going to be kind of hard to see. I don't even know if I can put a block under here to get that up more. Now then, that throw this out of level, so I don't want to do that. So what we need to do first is we're going to have to preheat that hot end to get that PLA fed in rest of the way. So if you push on the button, you get an info screen, motion, temperature, configuration, bed leveling, gives you a bunch of options there. Get down where it says change filament, push on that, gives you a choice of no or yes. So you flip it over there to yes, you push it again. So we're doing PLA, we want to do preheat PLA. Then it tells you nozzle heating, please wait. And it gives you the temperature down here at the bottom in centigrade. So we're looking for a peak temperature 180. Change, it'll tell you to insert filament and press button to continue. So we're up to temperature. And we should see some filament coming out of that nozzle here. Okay, we got a few things here we're going to need to do before we can get on to printing. Turn it back on here. I was away for a little bit because I had to go watch my football game. This is a Sunday. We'll get this booted back up. Press on the selector here. Down here to temperature. And my preheat PLA. Gives you your choice between just the hot end or the bed, or both. I'm going to do both, obviously. We'll have to wait for that to heat up. Right, the temperatures are 180 for the hot end and 70 for the bed, but that will change when it reads the SD card from what I sliced in Cura. And while this is heating up, I'll take you over on the computer and we'll set up a little file for this. I'm also going to have to do some bed leveling. Okay, so what's on this SD card? Well, I loaded it up here on the computer. Of course, you get a copy of the assembly manual for the Tarantula Pro. And you have a file here for setup a Repetier host version 2.0.01, but the date on it is 2017. In the manual they tell you to go to their website to download this. However, it's not even on their website anymore. So I'm going to be using Ultimaker Cura, and the most current version is 5.1 point something. They do give you a couple of test files here to play with. I don't know what these G-code files are of, so I have no way to preview them. Okay, one of the things I'm going to need to do is load the profile on into Ultimaker Cura here for this particular printer. So I'll have to go down here to add printer, and it's a non-network printer because I do not have it networked. So we'll go down here, and when I need to find TEVOUP, there's TEVOUP. I have my choice between the Tarantula and the Tarantula Pro. Well, the SD card says the Tarantula Pro, but the manual that came with it just says Tarantula. So, and I went and looked at the box, so I'm not real sure which one I have, but I'm going to go with the Tarantula Pro here. We'll add that. So now I'm into the Tarantula Pro. So now I need to set up a file in here. So I'm going to bring in one of my little custom items here that I made, and it's right there. So now I need to get this set up, and we're going to do this in I guess I call it normal here for the Pro 0.15, and this is a test file here, so we'll leave it at 10% infill so I can find out if this fits or not. This is a test thing. Down here to custom, see what my temperatures are. Printing temperature is 200. My bed temperature is 60. That's where I want it. And my build plate extrusion here, I need a skirt. I don't want a brim. I don't even know if I'll need that for sure. Back here, we'll click on this just in case to make sure it fits. Slice it. 37-minute print time. Save it here to my G card, and that's ready to eject. Okay, to level the bed, you're going to need a standard size, or well, size. This is tear off. Regular piece of just 20-pound copy paper. We'll push the little menu button here. Down here to bed leveling. Take it home. Now, once we have the home position, we got to start finding our other positions here. Boy, that looks like that bed is just way too low right now. So I need to lower that big time. You don't want the nozzle hitting the bed. We'll start with front left. That's a little loose. You want is just a little bit of drag on your piece of paper here. And you're going to have to repeat this several times because when you change one corner, it changes the other corner too. So now we'll go to front right. We'll go to right rear. Well, that's not even close there. I have run out of an adjustment. It means I'm going to have to reposition my limit switch, and I'll show you how to do that here. Let's take a look at the other corner. I was able to get it there. Take it back over to the other corner again. Well, I am able to get it, but it's right at the limit of... Okay, I've determined I'm going to need to move my limit switch down a little bit on the Z-axis, which is up and down here, because I do not have any adjustment left on this back corner, and pretty much out of it on this corner for the bed leveling. So I'm going to need to lower this limit switch probably 1 or 2 millimeters, and then go back through the bed leveling again. A little bit of a frustrating thing, but on initial startup, I suppose when they put these together at the factory, it's kind of like best guess. So I'll lower that limit switch a little bit, change my bed, re-level it, and we'll try this again. You're wondering where this limit switch is. It's right here. And it's held on by a single screw. I just need to loosen that up a little bit. Drop this down a couple of millimeters. Tighten it back up. Now what I'm going to need to do before I run this again is drop my bed so that my hot end is not hitting the bed when I run it home. So that's very important. If you move that down, move your bed down too. Okay, so I'll bring this home. The one nice thing is when this homes, it lets you see where the hot end is, and if you're at the level I am, and you obviously can't see this, but I need to lower my bed a little bit more before I go on with the bed leveling. So what I'm going to do here is disable the steppers again, go into the motion screen all the way to the bottom, disable steppers. That'll allow you to slide the Y-axis back and forth, so I can run this down so the hot end is not hitting it. And I can slide this across to make sure it isn't. And I can bring this forward, I can see it starting to hit there, and that's the one back there I was never able to get. It's back over here. I see I'm going to have to lower that one some more. Make sure everything's missing it. Now I can go back to the bed leveling. I'll home this again. Now I'll start with front left. Paper in there. Close right there. I'll go to front right. Again, you'll have to go all the way around if you pull with the limit switch. Go to right rear. That's where I was having most of my problems. Rear left. Back up here to front left, and you'll just have to keep doing the circle here until you have them all set. Okay, we're about to run this again. See how this goes. It'll home. I do need to move this cable to the other side of the gantry, I just noticed, but not a big deal. It's still not sticking. And the bed's perfectly level. It's up to the right temperature. So we're going to go to the glue stick. So I'll stop this and we'll do a little glue stick action. And what I've done here is disable the steppers. And even though I have cleaned this several times, for some reason that is just not sticking. I don't know if it's because it's new or it's this type of PLA, that the sample that came with it. Just simple glue stick. I'll rub that on there a few times. This area where we're going to be printing. Then we will go back to print for media, my swanky L bar. Hit print. Of course, now we'll need to wait for the hot end to warm up again and the bed to warm up. And we'll see if this works a little better. If it doesn't, I'm going to get some different filament. Now we'll see what it does this time. No, not what it should be. Better, but not what it should be. Need to do a little more investigating here, I guess. Okay, here we go again. Double check the bed leveling again. Everything has stayed the same. I did apply a little bit more glue stick to the center of the bed. I don't know if the problem is the filament or what it is here. I do this all the time. I don't have this problem. I'm going to change filament. So I'm going to stop this. I'll go up and get some other filament. Okay, I guess this would be a good time to show how to change a filament. So on your screen down here, click the little guy here. Down, click on change filament. Then yes. So we'll need to preheat the PLA. So we'll need to wait for the hot end to heat up. It'll tell you nozzle heating, please wait, and it will give you the temperature there. It's going to take it to 180 C. And it does heat up fairly quickly. Then there's a little gear here that turns on the back that is supposed to unload your filament. And it is. Pulling it right out. I'm going to speed that process up by pulling a little lever and just pulling it out the rest of the way. So we'll get that out of there. I've got part of a roll of some green left over, just the end of a spool. Make sure that's not tangled up. It's not. Now we'll load this through the filament sensor. Through there, push the little guide thing back, make sure it goes into the loading tube guide. Missed. I gotta turn this so I can see what I'm doing. And I will push a lot of it in there, just so I don't have to wait for everything to load. Okay, I come back here, press the button to heat the nozzle, insert filament, press button to continue, which I just did here. We have to wait for the filament purge. That means some filament will become oozing out down there. It'll probably look something like that. And it's starting to. And I'll do this enough to actually be able to see the green come out. You can push this button, it'll prompt you if you want to purge more. That's what I'm going to keep doing here until it comes out green. It's still coming out white. Now it's kind of a greenish white. One more time. Okay, it's still a little green and white. We'll do one more. Now it's coming out green. Go back to continue. Now we're ready to start a print again. So I'll reload that file. I don't like that it leaves that glob when it starts. My other 3D printers run a couple lines of a purge down the side over there. Doesn't seem to be affecting anything, and this filament's sticking. I don't know what the issue was with that other filament. And this is printing a skirt around the outside of the object for adhesion. The default is to use a brim, but I rarely ever need to use a brim unless I'm doing a really small part. So we'll let this run a bit and check back on it. And also these are printing in what they call draft mode. You see there's very little infill here. So I just wanted to, this is a test piece for something I'm making. And I just wanted to kind of see if it fit. It does. So on the next ones I'll increase the infill and let it build all the way up. This is another test piece which is similar to this one, but it's a different size. So there's our finished piece. And it's stuck on there pretty good. So there we go. Yeah, I said let that cool off a little bit. Quality is excellent. So as you can see, after getting past a few hiccups, it does work. It works very, very well. This filament that comes with it, I don't know what the deal is. I have 5 3D printers. 6 now. I have 4 Creality Ender 3 V2s and a Longreal K5 Pro. And so it's not like I've never used one of these before. I don't know what's up with this filament. I just could not get it to stick to that bed. Went up and got a scrap off of end of a spool and stuck in there, and as you can see, it worked just fine. So avoid the frustration if you're new to one of these and you get this filament that comes with it. Get something like Sunlu or Tech Bear or Matchbox or one of the Ender brand filaments. Get a higher quality filament. Kind of stay away from the Amazon Choice brand. I have found that not to be real consistent in diameter, and you could have some extruder problems with that. Otherwise, of course, I found a little piece of hardware in the box, but after looking at this all over, it must have just fell in there at the factory from something else. It doesn't go to this printer. So that was a good thing. The power cord. Again, that could happen to anybody on anything. You get a bad power cord. I have a lot of those cords. They fit all my lasers and my other printers and computers. Just standard computer cord. So that wasn't a big deal. If you don't have any of that stuff laying around, you get a bad cord, you're going to be a little bit frustrated. The only other little hiccup thing I found was on the bed leveling. I did have to move the limit switch down a little bit and make some adjustments here. I may in the future upgrade these springs on the leveling to the heavier duty stiffer ones. We'll see how well this does after I run some more projects on it. I'll actually put a full spool on here and run a bunch of projects on it. We'll see how well it does. The interface is good. It's not a touch screen. You got the little knob you push and you turn to select things. But it does have a little bed leveling deal in there, which is nice when you're trying to level the bed. The filament load unload works very well. Can't complain about that. Normally I do it manually. In fact, I did do part of it manually. It's to save a little bit of time. But that's a nice feature. So there'll be more videos on this 3D printer coming up here in the future. I can say this is the first time I've used this one. A little bit of a learning curve on it, and I had to get it into Cura. Saw how to do that there. I have not tried the software that was on the SD card because it is so dated. With a 2017 date on it, I'm not going to fool with anything that old. And I'm used to working in Ultimaker's Cura. I use it almost 100% of the time, so stick with what I know. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. If you'd like to get one of these, there'll be links and information in the description. Just click on the little thing that says show more, and it'll bring up some links. So I'm Roger in the shop. TEVOUP UP, or TEVOUP, used to be just TEVO, they changed the name. Tarantula 3D printer. Arrgh. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.